fallen in love. I'm hoping to be. Wind is so cold, is that the reason? Keeping you warm, your hands touching me.
Well, winter is fast approaching, as the Doors song says, and Marne men throughout the division will soon be faced with cold weather, decreased visibility, hazardous driving conditions, and all of the other safety hazards that freezing weather brings. So let's talk about safety and how to stay in one piece so we'll all be around for the spring thaw next year. First up, let's talk about traffic safety.
Rushing on the highway. Rushing till you're nearly brushing the next car. Rushing. It's Russian. Roulette.
I said you're on, buddy, Palm Hills running fine. Let's come off the line now, it's sunset and fine. But I'll throw you one better if you've got the nerve. Let's race all the way to Dead Man.
More than 200 people die annually in traffic accidents involving user or POVs. For some, this cold statistic takes on significance only when the human tragedy is taken into account. The pain, misery, suffering, and financial losses. A father, a mother, a child cannot be replaced. Neither can the soldier who died far from home. Death claimed these traffic victims in many ways. Some died instantly with only a momentary stab of pain. Some died hard, screaming in agony. Others passed away quietly under drugs. Seconds before their fatal crashes, the victims were in various moods. Some were dozing or even sleeping at the wheel. Some were still feeling that rosy glow of alcohol. Some were preoccupied with real or imaginary problems, and others were carried away with their cars. Most of the victims probably saw death as it approached.
Well, the last thing I remember, Doc, I started to swerve, and then I saw the Jag slide into the curve. I know I'll never forget that horrible sight. I guess I found out for myself that everyone was right.
Walk down back from Dead Man's
Every American driver who arrives in Europe is faced with the problem of adjusting to European traffic conditions, of getting the feel of his new environment. Here he'll find different traffic laws, strange driving customs, and an extremely heavy traffic density. One of the first things the American notices in Europe is the heavy traffic. He may have encountered similar conditions in the United States at times, but here the problem is ever present. In the Federal Republic of Germany, for example, there are 6 times as many vehicles per mile of roadway as there are in the United States. This greater traffic density contributes to the higher death toll. A second contributing factor in the European traffic picture is population density. The population density of the Federal Republic of Germany is 10 times that of the United States. The roads and streets of Western Europe are crowded with pedestrians who constitute a major part of traffic fatalities. Other European traffic conditions also differ from those in the United States. Narrow European city streets, jammed with pedestrians, don't offer much room to maneuver. The diversity of European traffic adds to the hazards of vehicle operation. Even on the autobahns, motorcycles and cars much smaller than Volkswagens jockey for position with huge trucks and speedy Mercedes. Bicycles and motorcycles also account for a good percentage of the total traffic. Many American military personnel come from southern, southwestern, and Pacific coast areas of the United States where winters are mild. Winter driving conditions in Europe increase traffic hazards for the unwary American. Perhaps the biggest factor contributing to the high traffic toll in Europe is the greater availability of alcohol. Many young men come from areas where alcoholic beverages are strictly controlled and very expensive. Many fall victim to the local environment where alcoholic drinks in dozens are cheap and available everywhere. Military police records indicate that the 5 primary causes of traffic accidents are driving too fast for road and weather conditions, failure to yield the right-of-way, improper passing, driving to the left of the center line, and following too closely. These practices often result from alcohol and lack of attention. In themselves, they constitute traffic violations. Certain traffic violations are felonies under German law. Drunken driving is one example. If personal injury or property damage results, the maximum punishment is 5 years imprisonment. In addition to drunken driving, the following offenses are felonies if persons or property are endangered by their commission: passing illegally, failing to yield the right-of-way, failing to keep to the right when vision is obscured, speeding at railroad crossings, making U-turns on autobahns, failing to warn oncoming traffic properly when a vehicle is stopped or parked on the highway.
City, what you do? Burn off that quarter mile. Burning rubber, thick exhaust fills the air.
So remember all these points when you're driving. Whether it's a 5-ton or a Volkswagen, don't forget to keep your lights, your mirrors, and your windows clean. And remember, driving defensively is a habit everyone should have. Remember, it's your life.
Russian. Russian when you're tight. Russian when your seatbelt isn't. It's Russian. Roulette.
Wintertime winds blow cold this season, falling in love. I'm hoping to be. Wind is so cold, is that the reason? Keeping you warm, your hands touching me.
Wintertime is the time for fire, for heating, cooking, and for fire danger. Harold Moores, the Engineer Command Fire Prevention Officer, explains.
When people are cold, they find a way to get warm. If you're at home, office, or troop billets, there is generally no problem. Out in the field, it's different. Tents are hard to heat, so you force the tent heater or use the wrong fuel, and then there is a fire or explosion. Gasoline is always available, so you use it as a fuel. Last winter, we experienced 23 injuries because of this careless act, plus losses of thousands of dollars. In most cases, the people concerned knew it was dangerous, yet they gambled with their life. We would like to say to every soldier, please do not misuse gasoline. Burn it in the engine of your vehicle, not in your tent stoves or other makeshift devices. Commanders should stress this most important fact to ensure members of their command are aware of the dangers of gasoline and that precautions are taken while in the field. Soon snow will cover most of Europe. Cold winds will make life miserable. Some of our troops will be warm, others will be cold, so cold that they will take a chance with their life by misusing gasoline. All we ask is for you to stop just for a minute and think, not only about yourself but others who will be in danger when you carry that bucket of gasoline to fill up your tent stove. The odds are against you. Nothing might happen, but on the other hand, you and your buddies could end up a statistical figure on a chart. Is it worth it? You be the judge.
Wintertime winds blow cold this season, falling in love. I'm hoping to be. Wind is so cold, is that the reason? Keeping you warm, your hands touching me.
Well, of course, one of the major dangers during the winter is from the weather itself, the hazardous combination of cold, moisture, and high winds. But cold injuries are among the easiest to prevent. Lieutenant Frank Nance from the Marine Surgeon's Office talks about that.
I think basically your main problems are going to be keeping warm, keeping dry at all times. I think basically a good word, if you were to use a phrase word for this, is the word cold. And it means to keep your clothing clean, avoid overheating, and wear your clothes in loose layers so that they're not all stacked brought together like just one wool shirt, but many loose layers. And this provides good insulation, and then keep your clothes very, very dry. And I think when a person goes to the field, he should remember that, it's the big thing is to avoid overheating at all times and keep dry. I mean, change your socks 3-4 times a day and use the foot powder that your battalion surgeon should issue you.
What kind of history has the division had in prevention of cold injuries?
In the last couple of years, it's been very, very good. We've had only one cold injury in the last 2 winters, and we aim to maintain this good, clean record of ours. Before this, 3 years ago, we had 15 to 20 cold injuries, and this is an exceeding number due to the fact that all cold injuries are preventable with just a little common sense and a little care on the soldier, because the Army does issue the equipment to keep warm. And some of this equipment would include your Mickey Mouse boots, your overshoes, all your liners for your clothes, and your poncho and your caps at all times.
Now, the thermometer is not always the best indicator of how cold it really is it?
This is very true. You can get a frostbite at 70 degrees Fahrenheit, and they're getting a few of these in Vietnam right now. But where we're faced with a basic problem over here in USERA is riding, say, in an open Jeep or an open deuce and a half when we're going on field maneuvers at Graf and Hohenfelds during the winter. Because it's possible, say, to have an actual thermometer reading of 10 to 20 degrees, which is very possible during winter at Graf, and be riding along a tank trail at 20 miles an hour. The temperature outside will be a minus 25 degrees with a wind chill factor taking effect, and this is extremely dangerous to your facial tissues due to the fact of your wind chill and frostbite on your face.
How does a guy tell if he does have frostbite?
Well, first of all, you get a stiffness of your skin tissue. Your joints start to hurt a little bit. Your skin starts to turn white, gets a little brittle. And oftentimes, when you heat something up, it tends to get red. Well, the same thing happens with frostbite. And if you push down, you should get a white depression on this. Well, if it quits doing this, you do have frostbite, and it's time to seek medical aid to cure this up. Oftentimes, with frostbite, you're going to get blisters, but these do not appear for, say, 6 to 12 days afterwards.
Now, everybody, I guess, has heard one story or another about how to treat frostbite. What is the right way to do it?
Now, the best way to treat frostbite is, if, say, a person has frostbitten toes, is to lay the person down, cut away his loose clothing, and, if possible, give him a little warm soup, elevate his feet a little bit, and get him to medical aid as fast as possible. There's really nothing you can do in the way of warming this other than using just blankets that's going to do him any good. In fact, if you rub it, you're going to do it more damage than good.
Wintertime winds blue and freezing, coming from northern storms in the sea. Love has been lost, is that the reason? Trying so desperately to be free.
And there's another unseen danger this winter, carbon monoxide.
During the winter, people tend to gather around where it's warm, and anytime you have heat, usually during the winter time, you've got a fire burning. And when fire burns, you produce CO, which is carbon monoxide. And carbon monoxide is a deadly, odorless, colorless gas. And when this gets into your bloodstream, it combines more readily with the red blood cells than does the oxygen, and it's extremely difficult to break loose from the blood cells. And for this fact, you should avoid such things as working in closed motor pools with vehicles running, working around the exhausts of the engines when the engine's running, burning sterno cans in the back of deuce and a halves, and any other type of activity where you're burning any type of fuel in an enclosed area. Should always keep your burning type things outside and keep them where you've got plenty of fresh air so that your body can have enough oxygen to keep going at all times.
Are there certain symptoms that show up if a person has been exposed to carbon monoxide?
Yes, there are. There are basically three. They have a dizziness, a throbbing headache, and they've got a chest pain. They may also get very nauseated, vomit quite a bit. They kind of feel weak, nauseated, and oftentimes they're very confused of where they are and what they're doing.
And what should be done if a person experiences those kinds of symptoms?
And the most important thing is to get him outside and get him some fresh air, lay him down, and then get him medical attention.
coming home, I'm coming. I'm coming home, I'm coming home.
Well, the subject has been safety. We've talked about some of the things you'll be faced with this coming winter. The rough driving conditions, both in your private cars and the military vehicles you drive. It's even more important during the winter to make sure they're in top shape. It's no fun being stranded on a snow-covered Autobahn because you didn't have a spare fan belt or your spare tire was flat. And watch the way you get warm during the winter. Keep the oil-burning stoves and their chimneys clean, and don't let oil accumulate on the floor around them. And never use gasoline unsafely. Remember the code word COLD for staying comfortable outside in the winter. C for clean clothes. O for overheating, don't. L for loose layers of clothing. And D for stay dry. And one final hint, the dangers of carbon monoxide poisoning, both in closed motor pools with vehicles running, or in closed vehicles themselves, or anywhere something is being burned. Safety is mostly a matter of common sense, but it does take concentration. If you'll think safety, no matter what you're doing, you'll be a coming home soldier too, one day.
She didn't mind, 'cause I was helping to keep our land free. I am a soldier, a coming home soldier. No purple heart do I wear on my chest. I'm just a soldier, a coming home soldier. I know that I've done my best. I'm coming home, I'm coming home, I'm coming home.